Welcome to Hoser Hockey Hour with your hosts, Kevin O'Hare, Matthew Buczynski, and Michael Kikamo. This is Hoser Hockey Hour. All right, welcome to Hoserville. I'm Michael Kikamo.
Okay, can we just appreciate just how terrible this intro is going?
Yeah.
And if anyone could actually have seen what the fuck just happened. Oh, I see, there I go.
Thankfully, we have an editor.
That'll be bleeped out, don't worry. Welcome to Hoser Hockey Hour. We gotta change the name of this thing, honestly.
I like Triple H.
Okay, fine, so...
I think that's taken by a wrestler. Sorry.
No, it's not.
Well, we can say it is. Well, it's not copyrighted.
Remember that one time I texted you and I want KKK?
Yes, that was really awkward. Incredibly awkward, in fact. So welcome to the show. As my friend Michael's introduced, my name is Kevin, and on the other line here we have Matthew Buczynski, who is our resident Leafs fan living in the middle of nowhere, aka Saskatchewan. Just kidding. So this is our show. For anyone who's been following us for a long time, you probably realized that we had a YouTube channel, which was pretty awful. It was Seinfeld was able to make a show about nothing. We just failed epically on every single level.
How do you fail on failing?
Oh, well, we found a way. And all you need to do is just watch the videos, and you can pretty much guarantee you that, yeah, that's absolutely right. So we thought we would transition from video to podcast form, and instead of talking about nothing, we're actually going to be talking about something. So this, I know, it's... Oh, see, there we go again. It's pretty crazy. So we're going to actually... Oh, my God. So... We had to put like an explicit title on this or something. So basically what we're going to be talking about today is a couple of choice things. So just to get some background on us first before we actually lead into the topic of conversation today, I thought we should probably talk about ourselves a bit, just briefly, just so that people know who they're listening to, what our background in the sport is, which, to be honest, I have absolutely none. So,
and that's Kevin.
Yeah, no. So just a little bit about us, I guess. Michael, do you want to start?
Actually, no. You know what? Let's pass the buck over to Matt. He's been kind of silent the last couple of minutes, so... Yes. Get him to speak.
So yeah, I'm Matt Buczynski. You can call me Ski or Bucci or Butch. These guys have a whole bunch of different ways of saying it. It's all good.
Butch is fine.
But yeah, I'm born and raised in Saskatchewan. Proud of it. I'm a Westerner, so I'll be our Western correspondent, I guess, for the show.
We have a correspondent, Michael.
But somehow ended up a Leafs fan, so it's better than an Oilers fan, I guess.
Oh,
he says that now.
Shots fired, and he's not just a little bit salty about the game last night too, which the Oilers beat the Leafs. Not at all. No, that's good.
No, it's not like I wanted to see McDavid in a Leafs jersey,
Well, we're not. So I think that's a good way to maybe segue ourselves into actually talking about like McDavid.
Yeah,
right? Let's talk about that then.
Yeah, so we can talk about a bit about the game last night. And so just to timestamp this, it is Friday, February 12th. And so the game last night was between Edmonton and Toronto got their collective asses handed to them. I'm sorry, Butch, but that's what happened.
To be fair, watching the game, in the first period, the Leafs outshot them 13-4 and were pretty dominant. I was surprised to see them fall apart there in the second period. But... honestly, I think the Leafs iced probably their worst lineup I've seen in 10 plus years of watching hockey.
Like that was such I haven't seen the highlights, but I just saw the roster and that's a depleted lineup as you can get in the NHL. Like they're basically an AHL team out there.
Like your top line in that game: Peter Holland, Leo Komarov, and P.A. Parento.
Well, I mean, P.A. Parento was
that's a pretty solid third line. In the NHL, it's definitely not a first line.
Oh man, well, I mean, it's interesting to see what happens next, especially because but I think that's what everyone was expecting of the Leafs this year. They had, I guess, their traditional middle of the season decent stretch of games where they were not last in Atlantic. So they actually had that going for them. But then, unfortunately, I guess, I don't know if it's goaltending or if it's just general lack of talent. But yeah, they've sort of just crept back to the bottom of the standings, which is not to say that's so Leafs, but it seems to be that sort of trend that around this time of year they just kind of collapse, regardless of how well they were starting the season off. But I guess that's what it is.
Good thing is most fans are wanting that to happen now. I mean, you've kind of embraced the rebuild mentality where you kind of want to tank, especially this year. The draft is pretty deep. It has some pretty high-end talent at the top, so I think the Leafs are pretty okay with that right now.
Where do they sit now in the standings?
Dead last.
Dead last?
Dead last. I think Edmonton and Columbus are a point or two ahead of them.
So the
right
usual
now.
suspects then.
What's that?
So the usual suspects then.
Oh, yes.
See, I don't know. That I just saw. I didn't see the highlights, but I just saw that roster, and my goodness. So Kevin's putting it up right now. It's actually Toronto, Buffalo, and Edmonton that are the bottom three. Very congested at the bottom five. But, I want to talk, what did you think of the Phaneuf trade? I'm going to say my bit about it in a minute or two, but let's get the ball rolling there. Dion Phaneuf and a handful of players go to Ottawa for Jared Cowan and a handful of other players.
Now, see, we have the beauty of having the internet literally right in front of us. So instead of just trying to guess who was involved in the trade, we could very easily just look this up.
Basically what happened, the Leafs are taking on Colin Greening and Milan Mahalik. They each have contracts running through next season. So it's basically money in, money out for Ottawa. You throw in Jared Cowan, who's been a healthy scratch pretty much all year. He's kind of fallen out of favor in Ottawa, so he's either going to be a reclamation project for Mike Babcock or used as trade bait, try to get another asset back for him. The thing I'm excited about as a Leafs fan is the prospect they got in that trade, Tobias Lindberg. Is actually having a pretty good season right now in the AHL, and now you're going to throw him into the Marlies and put him with Willie Nylander and see where that goes. Plus, they got a second-round pick too next year. So
it would be interesting to see where the Leafs are headed now, especially because I know this isn't actually a Leafs podcast because I didn't want it to be, but we're talking about them anyway. So I guess it's interesting that it doesn't look like that stacked a team, and it's unfortunate that it's. When it's not the offense that's not producing, it's the goaltending that sucks. And then when it's the goaltending, which is usually the story in Toronto, where it's stellar goaltending and less than stellar offense, which I think is just kind of like what it is. I don't know if that's true or not, but I find like that's sort of what it's been in the case, especially with Bernier in the last couple of years.
Well, would Nelson Mandela stop those shots?
That's
no, terrible.
To be fair, James Reimer is having a very good year, albeit on a very bad team. I don't know if he's still leading the league in save percentage, but he was up in the high 930s most of the year. And, had he not got hurt, I don't know, maybe that would have been a little different. But I don't think you can really blame goaltending on the team this year just because they can't score. I mean, if you can't score in the league, you're not going to win.
And I think Babcock even said that at a press conference. Who's going to score for us?
Yeah. Let's be fair. Leo Komarov, I love Leo Komarov, but he's your leading goal scorer right now.
I know.
That's not good.
Seems a little bit, I guess, unsustainable. For lack of a better word.
Who's going to score? Exactly. Leo Komarov. That's it.
I mean,
JVR,
right now,
he's hurt.
This team is basically a bunch of third and fourth liners. There is no, outside of Nazem Kadri, there is no skill on the team right now.
Okay, so now there's no skill. 100th anniversary next year. Toronto doesn't get the All-Star game. I don't think they're going to get the draft. They might get the Winter Classic. But there's also another debate about captaincy. Do you go with 4 A's next year? That's what they're going to do at the end of this year. But do you go the 4A route next year for the Centennial season, or do you pick a captain? Because quite frankly, I'm looking at this roster. I don't know who you choose. I think it's a lose times 23 situation.
I mean, right now, Morgan Riley is the captain and waiting. I don't know if you should give that responsibility to a 21-year-old kid that'll only be his third or fourth full season in the NHL. I don't think that's right, especially in Toronto. So I think you have to go with just the A's.
Because Montreal did that for their Centennial season too, when they made all those signings with Gianta and Camilleri and Hal Gill, and they did go the 4A route. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, because Montreal at that time got a brand new identity. But Yeah, I was looking at that roster. I'm like, who do you replace? I mean, no, Phaneuf wasn't a leader really to begin with. Good luck, Ottawa. But I don't see where that letter is going to land. It's definitely not going to be Kadri. I'll tell you that much. And I mean, the only people, I mean, I know you say that Morgan Riley is the captain in waiting, a young kid, big market like Toronto. Like, who would your 4 A's be? I put that to both of you, actually. Who would your 4
are we
A's
saying
be?
current roster right now?
Well, I mean, you can't really forecast who they're going to get, though. I mean, like, you can say hypothetically, I'd love to see Steven Stamkos get to see, but he's not in Toronto yet.
That's you can't really predict that. So if you go current roster, barring that they don't trade anybody more off it, I guess you'd go Riley, JVR, Lupul, Komarov.
What about Kadri?
No,
I would say Bozak over.
Yeah, I would pick Bozak over Kadri too. Kadri, I don't know what it is with Kadri. It's guy's got all the skill in the world, but he just hasn't been able to put it together yet. And I gotta think that the patience for the Leafs is running out on that, especially after the last couple of incidents he's had on and off the ice.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I think it's a very true point, Butch. I think it's a guy who is touted as having great potential and who was supposed to be sort of like your go-to second line guy. Like he was like on a deep roster, mind you. Like that would have been like the perfect spot for him. But it seems that he's asserting himself into roles that he's not necessarily cut out for.
It's actually ironic that Cowan goes to the Leafs because when just before, like moments before Kadri was drafted by them, Brian Murray wanted to take Kadri, and he had to settle on Cowan because Toronto, like Burke said straight up, we're taking Kadri, and Murray's like, all right. So they had to take Cowan, and it's kind of ironic that it's Cowan that's going to the Leafs now in that trade. I think it's spare parts for spare parts. Honestly, I mean, the winner is, I think, long term, it's going to be the Leafs because they have that cap space, right, for the next few years.
Yeah, no, that's true. They definitely have more flexibility.
And they can get rid of those guys,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Phaneuf's like I don't think he's that great. I think he's a second pairing guy. He's a second pairing guy.
Yeah, no, I would say him because he has a pretty decent slap shot from the point. I will say that's pretty rough. Like that's pretty good. And you set him as a defensive pair with, I guess, it would have to be Erik Karlsson.
But he's playing with Cody Ceci right now.
It's Ceci.
I don't think you want Karlsson playing with Phaneuf just because Phaneuf is really a defensive liability on most nights.
Well, you saw in that first game with Zetterberg.
Well, Zetterberg turned him right around. I mean,
I was gonna say, Matt, that's not your problem anymore, buddy. That's you wiped yourself clean of that.
No. It's his problem in the form of Jared Cowan. Whenever he decides to play.
Yeah.
No, you know what? It'll be interesting to see how that trade unfolds. You know what? It's funny because I always saw Dion Phaneuf as a stable presence in the Leafs locker room. Like, despite the incessant Phil Kessel trade back when that was a thing, I felt like Phaneuf was the guy who was going to be there throughout this, and he would kind of come through after the rebuild and reap the benefits of that. But I don't know. It's weird to see him go in a way because it's one of those names where he's synonymous right now with the Leafs, and he's been for a few years.
Well, because no one wanted him, and Toronto was stuck with him. He was all smiles. He was all
this
smiles.
This was basically
leaving.
a case of finding the first team that would take him.
Well, especially with that hefty ass contract, yeah.
Well, he was smiles, but let's not forget last year LA made a play for him in the form of Mike Richards.
They made a pay?
Play.
Your inability to talk, Michael, is pretty sad, man.
They made a pitch.
And you're going to be a teacher. That's even the worst part.
I'm not. Shut up. I can't. I'm so mad right now. They made a pitch for him in the form of Mike Richards, and of course, wisely, the Leafs said no. So, I mean, there was some interest, but like, I was surprised that they traded within the division.
It comes as a surprise, but I think in the NHL now, parity being what it is, I don't think that's as much of a stigma as it used to be.
True.
Well, you saw MacArthur walk the same way to Ottawa not even a couple of years ago. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's you see it more often. Teams are trading to divisional teams just because they
don't play
know
them as much.
and plus they know a better idea of the players on the different teams because they play each other so often, so they know what they're going to get in return.
Yeah, the only example I can think of it not working was when the Leafs and Habs, Josh Georges for Cody Franzen.
Oh, gosh.
Georges completely kiboshed that trade.
And both of them ended up in Buffalo. So
Well, there you go.
I for one am happy about that. I don't know about you two.
Hey, we're getting
but-
our second round pick this draft. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, well, it'll be so. And I know Butch, you were saying it's going to be a deep draft. I honestly know nothing in general, but I especially don't know anything about the draft this year. So I'm thinking, who do you have? I don't even know the names of the players in this year's draft, to be honest.
Basically, number one, you're going to have Austin Matthews. Big number one center. He's playing in the Swiss League right now, putting up pretty decent numbers. Dominated the World Juniors for the Americans. That's really your prize at the top. 2 and 3, I got to think, are the two Finnish kids, Puljärvi and Lane. They also dominated the World Juniors for Finland. So, I mean, they're both
Now,
wingers.
is World
but
Junior play indicative of how your NHL game's going to be?
I think so, to an extent. I mean, especially those top players. I mean,
Well, yeah,
you
but I
remember
mean,
Canada stacked teams and
case in point, a name that comes to mind is Justin Pogge.
see goaltenders. I think are a little different. though.
Who is that?
Exactly.
That was the guy the Leafs chose over Tuukka Rask. That's who.
Exactly.
That's wow. That is pretty funny. So that would have had to have been a couple years ago now. A few
my
years
God.
ago. Yeah.
We're
2008
thinking 10.
probably.
Damn.
10 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, it's probably pretty close. Well, Tuukka Rask was the 2006 draft.
Yeah, so
So-
10 years.
So, well, 9 years. 'cause
Where
they
does the
traded him
time
year
go,
after.
gentlemen? That was 10 years ago. I couldn't even give less about hockey during that time.
No.
Oh no, that's when I was full on into it.
Yeah, I
Much
know,
more
and
than
that's
I
when
am
I was
now.
somewhat a Leafs fan. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Michael. I'm a Habs fan. I've played hockey. Okay, so now back to the topic at point.
No. You know what? This is good, guys. This is awesome. We're learning our footing in the podcast land, and we're getting an introduction from Mike fucking 20 minutes into the podcast. No, that's stellar right there. You know what? That's reinventive. That's smart, buddy. Good for you.
Is that sarcasm? I don't know.
That's a little bit of sarcasm.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not my strong suit, but it's. Yeah, no, I feel definitely with the draft, it'll be, I guess I need to do more research on it. I can't really talk about anything right now. But, the draft is always sort of a tricky situation because, like you're saying, you have ideas for what these players are going to be, and then realistically, they don't always, I'd say more times than not, pan out like that. Just, I mean, going off experience I've seen with Buffalo, the guys that they've drafted for the last couple of years, they've been touted as amazing players, and I haven't seen that yet. But then again, with a team that bad, you can't expect people to actually be good. I don't know. But, it'll be interesting to see the draft, and I guess trade deadline day is also coming around the corner too, so that'll be interesting to see who are the big players in that are going to be. I don't know if the Leafs are going to make any trades, or I don't know if, who's going to be buyers and sellers in this year's trade deadline day?
I think right now there's a pretty clear divide with playoff spots. I mean, the East, there's maybe 1 or 2 spots that are still in range for some teams. In the West, there's a lot of teams that are out of it already. Fortunately, a lot of them are Canadian teams, but...
Well, I guess
Well,
Montreal is always Canada's hope for getting the playoffs, as it seems, and they're falling from grace, so it'll be interesting to see if any Canadian teams made the playoffs this year. I hope they do.
If I was a betting man right now, I would say Vancouver and Ottawa have the 2 best chances of getting in. Montreal Price is out. I don't think he's going to play again this year. And so if you're Montreal, you're not going to spend assets to rent players.
They would sit Carey Price if they were smart about it, because they didn't want to. This season's pretty much lost for all intents and purposes.
If they even make the playoffs, they're not going to go on a deep run, I don't think. And I'm the diehard Habs fan here, and I don't see them really getting out of the first round unscathed. So, I mean, honestly, I think Matt, I agree with Matt. I think Ottawa and Vancouver have the best likelihood of Canadian teams in the playoffs. it's a shame Montreal had that 9-0 start, but of course, the media jumped on that really quickly, and I was like, they'll be fighting for a playoff spot come January, and
The thing is,
they
like,
had that free
any
fall
any
like
team
that.
that you take the best player off of, there's obviously going to be repercussions. And so you take Carey Price off of Montreal, what are they? Their goals per game isn't really any different than last year. So that just proves Carey Price was very worthy of that Hart Trophy last year.
And the Lou Marsh Award is top Canadian athlete.
Yes.
Jeez. But
But
they still.
it definitely it shows that Montreal really was a pretender. They were never a contender. With Carey Price would take you deep in the playoffs, but I don't think they were ever that elite team that could challenge
And I've been
Tampa or
saying
New
that.
York.
I've been saying that, and everyone's like, "How can you be a Habs fan?" I'm like, I'm a realistic fan. Like they have to get rid of the political BS and somehow get a top forward that's not David Desharnais. Like, I'm sorry, he's not a top line player, and they're giving him all these chances to produce, and he's just not cashing in.
I mean, right now you gotta like Plekanec and Desharnais. They're really not producing, but I don't know why a guy like Galchenyuk isn't getting more minutes, trying to show what you got. I mean, he was a 3rd overall pick, and pretty highly touted.
That was the year that the Habs pretty much just like
Really
sucked.
fell far from grace.
Yeah, no, that's funny. But no, you know what? It'll be interesting to see what happens in this year's playoffs. I mean, you have your quintessential Chicago, LA guys that are going to make their usual appearances. You know what? It was actually interesting. I have to ask you guys both this question. I was listening to shout out to another hockey podcast, the Steve Dangle podcast, which is actually very entertaining.
What do you think of him, Matt? A lot of people.
I love that guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
But they raised a point on the show where they were saying if LA wins this year, that'll be 3 cups in 5 years.
Same Chicago. Yeah,
I'm curious if you guys consider those guys modern day dynasty teams.
Chicago for sure. I mean, I don't think you can make an argument against it now, especially in the salary cap
especially
era.
like LA.
LA, yeah. I think if they won, even if they didn't win this year, 2 in 4 years is still pretty impressive, especially in the Western Conference.
I have to disagree. I don't think that's a dynasty.
Either of them.
I don't think so. I think a dynasty is you win a few in a row.
But that doesn't happen anymore.
I know, but I don't.
That's what I'm saying. Modern day dynasty.
I know
That shit doesn't happen
True.
anymore.
You can't compare the two anymore. These aren't your 1997 Detroit Red Wings.
I guess maybe I have to really be lenient with that term, but
Well, no, because like it's just especially during the salary cap era, you'd have stacked teams because they just had all those players.
And you
had
look at
teams that were
Chicago after
garbage.
each of those cups, they've sold off a lot of players.
oh yeah, I
Like
remember their first
each of
cup,
those
they
teams'
sold the
rosters
farm.
outside of Kane and Taves pretty different.
Yeah.
So
Well, Chicago's
I mean,
just brilliant managing.
oh yeah,
It's crazy how well they've been able to manage the salary cap and keep the assets and bring in guys and develop guys.
that's the thing is the
But that's what
development.
your
They've got a
job.
lot
Sorry,
of young
I know,
guys.
I'm getting passionate here, but no, that is your job as a general manager is to manage the team properly, and that includes drafting well, training well, playing them well, and trading them off well eventually.
Well, don't tell that to Mike Milbury.
Oh my god! Yeah, I love how this guy drives the New York Islanders into the toilet, and somehow he becomes an analyst. Like, I guess in the NHL, you just fail upwards, it seems.
Well, I don't consider an analyst to be a professional in any case of the means, because you have, a lot of media guys are your 4th line center that barely, like, they won a Stanley Cup, but just because they were on the roster, not because they had any part of the actual playing thing. So I don't consider this guy being an analyst to be, he's a brilliant hockey mind, because if you're a brilliant hockey
He's
mind,
far from it.
well, look at Steve Yzerman. What does he do? He becomes a general manager.
Yeah, and
Because he knows the game and he can actually do it well. And that's where you see a lot of those smart hockey minds that were players go into management.
and that's what I've said that too. That the more brilliant minds go into management, and the lesser
upper
known
brass,
guys,
yeah.
your Mike Johnsons and your Darren Pangs.
And all the Jeff O'Neills out there, because Leafs lunch would not be the same without it infuriates me when guys like that are considered hockey insiders. Well, we could be hockey insiders if those are the credentials. Holy shit, man!
Well, they did play a few hundred NHL games. I'll give them that.
No, but I like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
to be an analyst doesn't mean that you're a brilliant hockey mind. And if you look at New York's, I guess, model that they've been using, I mean, they've had spurts of seasons where they were playing well. But even, I remember when they traded Vanek for Molson and picks, and I thought just Vanek for Molson would have been a really decent trade, just 1-for-1. But then New York threw picks on top of that. It's like, why? Like, you're not buttering up any deal there, because I equate Molson and Vanek to be on the same level.
Sorry,
player.
I'm trying to figure out the segue to this. How did we start getting to talk about Vanek?
Well, because we're talking about just dumb things that the Islanders have done.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, but that wasn't Milbury.
No, it was Garth Snow.
That was Garth Snow.
That was
who's still
Garth
there.
Snow. Oh, he's
Which-
still there.
Milbury's been gone for a while.
Oh, probably 10 years at least. I think that might even be like pre-lockout.
Yeah, I was. Well,
Well, you guys got to consider, I haven't followed hockey as long as you two have.
did you? I don't know if. I was like, how the hell did we get onto Vanek? Oh my goodness.
This podcast is full of surprises, people. What can I tell
Clearly,
you?
I'm trying. I was like trying to find like the
segue? Well,
the segue.
there isn't any.
I couldn't find it. But this is a guy. Milbury's the guy that traded away Roberto Luongo, Ole Jokinen, and then not only did he draft Rick DiPietro ahead of.
Wasn't he one of the worst goalies of all time? Or one of the biggest busts?
Well, one of the
trade?
biggest busts, but then they offered him that 15-year contract. I mean, that's got to be Milbury too, right?
Honestly, don't remember. I think so. But I think that contract came from the owner, though. I think that was
Charles
ownership
Wang?
pressure. Yeah.
This is the guy who says, "Why do we need scouts? We have central scouting." Yeah, that guy. Ugh. Oh well. I mean, yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I think analysts like Bob McKenzie, who have like studied the game and researched and put many years of watching the game, those are the guys. Like Bruce Arthur. I love Bruce Arthur.
Yeah, no, he was actually a fun guy. Fun fact, he was actually a part of my grandparents', they were part of this old folks club with U of T.
Yeah?
And Bruce Arthur's mom is in that club.
I met Bruce Arthur at work.
I know.
I had to-
Small world, man. But yeah, no, she was talking about just how much she is so proud of her little boy for being a sports article writer. I'm like, good for you, Bruce Arthur's mom.
I even told him I only watch the reporters for you. When you're not on it, I don't watch.
But no, that is, no, you know what, that you do have some brilliant hockey minds. I mean, they're not going to be found on Sportsnet.
Zing.
But, you know, it's...
Nick Kiprio's asking Jaya Shiger, so why can't goalies play every game? Ugh.
It's just like, well, buddy, I'm glad to see that Rogers is paying you a lot of money to be there, because clearly you don't know that much about hockey. But no, that's cool too. But no, you know, it's... Plus, I mean, to be honest, I don't know about you guys, but it's finding the time to watch TSN or to watch SportsCenter. It's just hard. Because life gets in the way, and it's just like, it's setting time. Like, I remember in university, it was much easier to watch that, because, well, I was sure as hell wasn't doing work at Brock. But I mean, like, it definitely, I find that it's just hard to find, like, time just to watch the games even. Like, it's, I don't know.
How many games do you watch a week, Matt?
Less than one. I don't even know that I watch the Saturday night game anymore. Like, honestly, I think I've maybe watched 2 full Leaf games this year.
And I've probably seen
I've watched
a period.
one. I've seen one Sabres game when they were playing Arizona, and that was the only game I've seen this year.
Really?
And that was it. Yeah.
I've seen
I
one
mean,
period of
I'll throw
Montreal.
a game on in the evening, but it'll usually be 15 minutes, watch period. That's about it.
Yeah, but no, this is what it means like to be in the real world, guys. We're spending more time working and having significant others. I mean, some of us are.
I don't know who that could be.
I wonder. I mean, have you looked at Michael's phone background recently?
He was very unforthcoming about that to me. So.
Oh, he was, Butch? Oh,
Yeah,
but he's like,
very.
one of your best friends, and he
I
had
know.
to fucking
I was
pull
a
teeth to
little
get that out of him.
heartbroken.
Oh, wow. Always one for the dramatics, Michael.
My parents haven't even met her. Okay, I don't know how we got to this, but our uncle has. Anyway,
What?
that's a long story. Back to hockey. I don't know how the hell we go from Vanek, now we go from this. How do we get away from
Oh,
it?
but the audience is learning so much about us, though. I mean, that's why they're listening for, personality.
Personality.
But no, you know what? It's no, you know what? I think hockey is still. I don't know if they need to really do anything different in terms of like drawing people. Like I was like just going off on a tangent. Is that I was watching this expose and they were talking about FanDuel and these one-day fantasy drafts. Now, the three of us are committed to a season-long fantasy hockey season, which, I mean, is fun because you're playing for, I think, the sport. You're playing to follow the teams, you follow the players, you follow the game because you want to. But then they're saying that they're introducing these one-day fantasy leagues like FanDuel, and that's apparently going to be the catalyst for getting young people to get interested in hockey because they're gambling on it. Now, do you think that's like? Do you see that being the future, especially when the NHL is like?
Well, when
like
they have a team in
sponsorship?
Vegas, then it'll be perfect.
Well, I
For
think
one
that's,
thing, young people don't have money, so it's pretty hard to gamble when you don't have it in the first place.
well, I mean, it doesn't have to be your money.
It doesn't have to be your money.
No, I mean, I personally like.
Like,
using
I remember
DraftKings,
all the cool Yu-Gi-Oh
but-
cards in the playground. I didn't have. I had to like just bet that away, and then I got them, and then they got banned from our school, which still stings a little bit today. But it's. Oh my god, I just lost my train of thought there.
Matt, you're in how many fantasy, like just for hockey? Let's not even get to basketball. Hockey alone.
Hockey right now, 3.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Damn, I can't even commit to one.
I wasn't going to commit to one, but then friggin' hindsight and old feeling. You know what? I'm going to come back next year. I'm going to come back. I'm actually going to draft my team.
So for those who didn't realize, Michael didn't really want to play this year because he won our team. He won the league last year.
But-
and then our good friend Matthew here convinced him to play one more year. And Michael, being the reigning champ, didn't really do that good a job at forming his team. He just kind of fell backwards into it, and now you're seeing that your team sucks.
Well,
which should really come as no surprise.
No, to be fair, it would have sucked a lot more hadn't I not made those trades.
Yeah, you kind of fleeced your uncle there for you traded him like top quality players for spare parts, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll take it.
Hey, and Steven Stamkos. Let's not forget, I didn't want to include Stamkos in that deal.
Yes,
Anyway,
I don't know why you were still itching to trade him away because he's
I
still
got Pavelski.
yeah.
Yeah, Mike's got a love for Pavelski.
I love Pavelski.
I don't know why you have such an affinity for that specific player.
I don't
I mean, he's a good player, but
But he's just Joe Pavelski. Like what's special about him? Like nothing.
Joe Pavelski.
But that's a really lame reason.
He's the
to love
captain
someone.
San Jose deserves.
That they don't need.
No,
but
they
They deserve.
They need him. They don't need Joe Thornton anymore.
Oh,
hey, that's mean.
I'm kidding.
Patrick
As a leader,
Marleau.
as a
Hey,
leader, I'm saying.
Thornton's still a good player. I wouldn't
Oh, I'm saying
discount
as a leader
Joe.
because
Wow.
as a leader, I'm talking a leadership role.
Okay.
No, they need Thornton. Like again, bringing it back to Milbury. Milbury wanted Thornton. Like if it was up to Milbury, he would have demoted Thornton in the AHL. Remember that?
No, I can't say I do.
Oh my
Oh
god.
well, there you go, Michael. Thank you for
That
bringing
just
up that
shows how
point.
much of a genius Mike Milbury is. How he earns every penny of that paycheck. Ugh.
No, that's funny. But no, I think I don't know. Like the part of hockey that I still like it for is that you know what? It's still fun to watch. When you get the chance to watch it, it's still a lot of fun. And I just think that it's a good pastime. I mean, not to say baseball and football aren't great. Basketball is still fun. I just think that hockey is it's a really fun sport, and I think we all agree to that. That's why we're talking about hockey for
Okay,
this podcast.
so I also wanted to bring up a point. You were talking about how you don't really have to market it more, and I've been thinking about this. And did anyone notice the empty seats at the All-Star game? Was
Yeah.
that just me?
Nope.
So obviously, I still think they have to grow the game. Like
anything to just segue into John Scott later on.
No. I wasn't gonna segue into John Scott. I just wanted to say that the All-Star game had a lot of empty seats, and I think
A game which just also happened to feature John Scott, but
I wasn't gonna talk about John Scott.
But we might lead into that later.
I wasn't
You
gonna
never
talk
know.
about John Scott. Okay, it was
yeah.
clearly the Nashville team, not Nashville, Nashville hosting it, and they still didn't draw the crowd that they thought they were gonna draw, even with all the hype with the John Scott, and even though they had those country singers. I don't know, they call them celebrities, but I never heard of them. Like being like assistant coaches in the 3-on-3 format. Like clearly they haven't really done that great a job yet.
Well, the All-Star game is just more. It's a talent show that no one wants to go to. Like, how many guys just don't go because they don't want to get injured, B, can't be bothered. I mean, like, I feel like the All-Star game is just for fans, but it seems to me that the players, like, just based on what I saw this year, albeit I just saw the skills competition, it just seems like the players didn't really want to be there.
I didn't watch the skills competition, to be honest, and I only saw 2 of the 3-on-3 games. So, I mean, they tried to revamp it. The next one's going to be in Los Angeles, so a little bit of a safer...
But no, but it's surprising that it's not in Toronto for their 100th year.
Well,
like,
yeah, and that's
that
weird.
Would make a lot of sense.
You think they would have the draft. You think they would have, the All-Star game.
I was thinking the Winter Classic.
Well, that's the thing, though.
But Toronto was just in it 2 years ago with Detroit, though.
Well, but how many years has Chicago been?
Exactly, and you know what?
Or
Chicago's getting
Boston.
another one. Chicago,
They're getting Winter Classics or Stadium Series?
They're getting an outdoor game against St. Louis.
Next year's Winter Classic will be in St. Louis against the Blackhawks, supposedly.
And they think it's going to be against Chicago.
Yeah,
He literally just
said that. I'm sorry. Sorry.
But I mean, think of that. What is that? 3 of the last 4 Winter Classics
it's
would
got
be
to be
Chicago?
more than that, man. It's got to be way more than that. I'd say maybe 4 of the last 5.
Because they played the Red Wings the once.
Red Wings.
You guys are forgetting that Boston Montreal won this past year and the Leafs Detroit won 2 years ago.
No, but we're counting just Chicago.
Winter Classics, you're saying?
Oh yeah,
any
Winter
outdoor-
Classics. Well, yeah, Chicago outdoor games because they
Yeah,
played
just-
Washington last year. I believe it
Chicago-
was.
They're playing Minnesota in
And
like
this
2
year-
months.
I think this year makes it 4. I think this one makes it 4, Matt. And then if they place if it is St. Louis, that would make it 5. There's another one in there though.
Did they play Pittsburgh at all in one?
Yes, that's the
Yes.
one. Yes, because Taves was chirping Crosby. That's right. So that would be 5 for Chicago. So I
Don't
guess
get me wrong, I like the Blackhawks, but I mean, let's
that's-
spread the wealth a little bit.
well, and I think that maybe that's they're the NHL's thinking is that Chicago's a safe bet and it's an American market, so why not?
Well, you
But, I mean-
got to strike while the iron's hot, though. And
Yeah.
Chicago is the hot team right now.
But if it's overexposure, you're gonna get sick of it,
Yeah,
right?
but the thing is, you don't get a 100th anniversary every 5 years. You get it once every 100.
Yeah.
I mean, like one event for the Leafs. Like the draft is going to be in Chicago. The All-Star game is in LA. The Winter Classic in St. Louis. Like
I know,
that
especially-
just seems like a stone
and-
cold shaft to me.
Stone Cold Stunner, one might say. But no, you know what? It feels like, to me, the Leafs are also, arguably, the NHL's one of the biggest markets, if not the biggest.
I think easily the biggest market, the most prestigious market even.
So you would think that the league, albeit they are kind of anti-Canadian establishment, you would think that they would still honor one of the most iconic, like, of the big 4 sports
But they did it for
leagues.
Montreal, so I don't understand. Like they pulled all
That's
the
right.
string-
It's a double standard almost, right?
right? So like you have to think why if they're like I agree they're anti-Canadian, but what was the rationale behind that move? Because if they are going to get a Winter Classic, apparently rumors have it that it's going to be against the New York Rangers, and it's like that's odd. Why not Montreal? If you can give Chicago, or even hell, do Boston. Like New York, I understand it's an original 6 team. You're not going to do Chicago twice in 1 year because all signs point to them going to St. Louis. I don't understand why they wouldn't do Montreal Toronto Winter Classic, or when they're even going to announce that they are getting anything or not.
That would be
So don't call it the Winter Classic. Make it a Heritage Classic again then.
True.
Something. I mean, a Toronto Montreal Heritage Classic, that'd be great. I mean, just think of the alumni game you'd get. 2 huge fan bases that would show to that.
Especially one of the most historical rivalries in all of sport for the 100th season. Like, that's perfect marketing right there. It sells itself.
Like, that's right up there with Cowboys, Redskins, Yankees, Red Sox. Like,
But you have to remember, though, American TV networks, an American audience. Gary Bettman's pandering to those. For sure you're going to get it from a Canadian market. Absolutely, coast to coast, Canadian fans are going to flock to it. But I think for if I'm looking at it from Bettman perspective, you have the big TV deal with an American network. You want American viewership. You want to grow the sport in America. marketing a Heritage Classic, Winter Classic, whatever have you, with 2 Canadian teams might not be the way to do it.
It wouldn't fly. No one would watch it. You'd get your hardcore hockey audience watching, but that's your tune-in audience, you know, just for the spectacle of it. Like, oh, a game in Fenway Park. I want to see that. You know, you get extra viewing versus, a game at BMO Field. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because first of all, a lot of Americans going to be like, well, where the hell is that? Yeah. You know, it's...
What's a BMO? Like... You know,
you know what? You can make a better joke if you tried.
I had someone. I've
could have.
I've lost it.
You're out. Buddy. I don't know what's wrong with you tonight. You're tired from work, pal.
I have to get up early in the morning. But honestly, I think that's what it is. I think Bettman's trying to see what he can get for like American TV viewership, and then he'll make his call there. But I think it is like, as much as I just have a distaste for the Leafs. Sorry, but I'm not. They did it for Montreal. I don't understand.
Like Matt said, it's definitely a double standard if you're obviously comparing the two situations there.
But I have a question, though. This is kind of a far out of left field question, but just humor me. If Brian Burke was still the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, still the president, you think that would have for sure happened? Like, you think that maybe they...
I don't think that would have made a difference.
You don't think MLSE didn't make that strong of a push for it?
No, I don't think that would have mattered. But you're the Leafs fan, so I guess you would have a better idea than we would.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I mean, Brendan Shanahan worked for the league for 2 years. I mean, I'm sure he has connections there that he would have been pushing. And let's not forget, MLSE is huge, and they're very involved in the management of that team. Like, you bet they would have been pushing for something.
Yeah. I don't know. It is this double standard, and it sucks because, you know, like Matt said, it's not every day that your organization turns 100, you know, and so
it's a pretty big deal, and especially for such an iconic team. They're the team that everyone loves or loves to hate. Like, even if we're not Leafs fans, we still find us talking about them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that new logo, that was like on the top of social media like trends for days.
What do you think of that, Butch?
Oh, I love that. That's, as much as I grew up with this modern logo, and that's really the only one I know, I think it's become too affiliated with losing. You had to change it, and to go back to that logo from the Stanley Cup era.
But I love it how in 20 years from now, we're going to be looking at the current logo now and being like, oh my God, that's just associated with really bad times. Like, that logo is just, it's ruined. It's going to be associated with just...
It came about from the Ballard years, though. Ballard years, right?
Well, in the 60s, yeah.
No.
The current one or the new one?
The current you're talking the current one?
That
was
the 70s.
That was in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking 70s there.
Yeah.
And the 70s and 80s were very dark times.
Oh, yeah.
So.
But no, it'll be... I do like the logo, and they're going to probably keep it around for a while. That's just what it's going to be. That's their logo they're going to carry with the future and hope for success. You know what? It'll be... To be honest, I don't know if a team's success in playoffs or anything else hinges on logos, but it's a nice face.
We may not win, but we're gonna look good not doing it.
I mean, ask the Oilers; they haven't changed that logo in 40 years. You go from your 80 Stanley Cups to 10 years out of the playoffs with the same thing. So,
but no, I think it's definitely it's a cool logo. I like it. It incorporates the old
very
school
classic.
vibe. I like it a lot. It looks really cool. It'll be interesting to see the color scheme and what the jersey's going to look like.
Jerseys apparently are going to be released at the draft. So, if you're going
to mark that on your calendars, kids.
If you want to see the jersey,
if you want to see more hats, that
don't.
That's a joke for another episode.
Don't.
But no, you know what? I guess we can start wrapping up here. We have maybe like 10 more minutes left. What else do you guys want to talk about in terms of pressing matters? Well, I guess look at this, Michael. We have 10 minutes left. What a perfect time to bring up your guy, John Scott. Perfect time.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
But you know what? The time allots it. So take the stage, my friend.
Oh my God. I wasn't. I know I talked about the
You're
All-Star.
that spoiled kid. Because, you're the spoiled kid who wants his special little toy. His parents get him the toy, and he's like, well, I didn't want it anyway.
No. What's with this hostility? Oh my god!
I'm
What have
just
I
giving
done?
you a hard time.
Oh
buddy.
my god! What is with this hostility, man?
It's been a long day. What can I tell you?
I know. Like honestly, I mean, I mentioned the NHL All-Star Game, but I didn't want to talk about John Scott. It was because of the lack of people that were showing up to it. But I mean, I don't know. Talk about John Scott. We haven't heard about him since the All-Star Game, so
and
I
we're
guess
probably not going to hear from him for a long time.
so. I guess his 15 minutes are over.
Yeah, which is kind of sad.
You know, but he had 2 twin girls. Good for you, I guess. I mean, now you have a car that you can
See, I feel like the story behind it was a joke to begin with. The guys were like, let's just screw over the NHL. They had the fan vote, so let's vote in one of the worst players in the league just to make a mockery of having an NHL, like an AHL guy in the All-Star game.
And you brought up the point how I'm a spoiled kid, but I think the real spoiled kid here is Gary Bettman because it was his playground, his rules, and then it worked against him. And then he's like, "Will your children be proud? Would your like what the hell? Like
sick burn, bro."
Matt, you saw that article, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a low blow. That's over the line. You don't do that.
Like to leverage your own kids, like again, his own kids against him was like, I mean, was expected because I'll say this, and I've been saying this for years. I love hockey. There's not many things I love more than that. I hate the NHL. The dogs, anyway. But I hate the NHL and how they go about things because they went through it so bad. It was a fan vote. Matt, did you vote at all for that?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't vote for. Did you?
No, obviously not.
Well, I don't know. I don't know your life.
No, but see, like you're saying, you like hockey, but hate the NHL.
Yeah, because they don't.
But then, what are we gonna watch then? The KHL.
Well, exactly. But I don't like how
I
don't like how the NHL goes about certain things. I don't like how they're going about. I mean, and this is going to be discussed at another time. Like a Las Vegas hockey team over a team or a city that is actually has natural ice. I think.
Or no, but like you see a market like Seattle would be. Perfect.
But Seattle's not looking.
I know, but like you would think Vancouver-Seattle rivalry, that would be perfect.
Yeah, but that's going to mean
in a perfect world, Michael.
I know, but
doesn't happen.
But Gary Bettman's for 7 more years of non-perfectness.
Well, it's going to be a very stacked anti-Canadian league until he leaves, if he ever does.
Because if you have to relocate to Seattle, you have to take one of the struggling teams from the States, and Bettman doesn't want to part with that. Look how hard he fought for Arizona.
No, but I mean, like, why are you lingering to a team like the Panthers or the Hurricanes or for that matter, the Coyotes? I mean, they're not making that much money. I don't know why you're lingering onto that when you can move them to an American market that has more interest in hockey.
I'm just so glad the Atlanta Thrashers sale happened right under his smug little nose. Or big nose. It's quite a big honker he's got.
Yeah, but then it's sad to see what's happening in Winnipeg now. It sounds like the fans there are starting to get a little less than like they're not really going to games anymore. I was reading an article where they're still selling a lot of tickets, but they've noticed a very steady decline in ticket sales. And I guess the people of Winnipeg are thinking, well, this team isn't sort of what we were hoping it was going to be. Well, it's just a reskinned Atlanta Thrashers, which, well, it was for the first couple of years.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, how are you going to... I don't want to say this without upsetting people, because personally, I haven't been to Winnipeg. But how are you going to attract people to come and live in Winnipeg and play for the Jets? I mean, it's a great fan base, but Matt, have you been to Winnipeg?
Briefly, yes.
Okay, because...
Tell us all about it, Matthew. We're so excited to hear about your trip to Winnipeg.
No, but like... I've heard it's not that great a place.
Well, it's cold.
Well,
it doesn't have any parks.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any parks.
It has lots of parks and lakes. But you do have precedents now. As Bufflin re-signed. 5-year extension to stay there.
Do you think Ladd's going to...
I don't know that they'll meet the money demand for Ladd. So
well, they went all in on Bufflin.
He's asking $6+. I don't think Andrew Ladd is worth $6+ million a year.
No,
they went all in on
not
Bufflin.
over a 6 or 7 year deal.
True, they went all in on Bufflin, right? I guess
4.5 to 5. I would keep Ladd, but I think that's about as high as you would go.
Well, they're also starting to, I don't want to say vilify him in Winnipeg, but they're definitely not making him out to be a great player in terms of...
I mean, the problem is the performance, right? You go from a 60-point player last year to, I think he's barely in the 30s right now.
No, so, is that him or just the team, do you think?
A combination of both. I think the team overall is underperforming, but what is Andrew Ladd, right? I mean, he's a pretty good power forward, but is he a 60-point-a-year guy? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, no, and plus, you know what? You get more flexibility with Bufflin. He's a big guy. He can play forward and defense.
Yeah.
You know what? And he's definitely a physical presence for the Jets. I definitely say they made the right choice in giving the money to him, signing him to the good contract.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Jets are an interesting thing where they do have some good young prospects coming. So, I mean, you're going to add another one this year.
I'm getting a little bit sick of the old proverb that teams have prospects that are coming up down the line. I have yet to see any of those pay off yet. I've been told as a Sabres fan, your team's going to get better. When is that eventually? When is that reality? It is never going to happen. No, but like it seems like that's such a very.
When is it gonna happen?
It's a very buzz.
It is
it's
a
very
cliche
buzz.
thing
Yeah,
to
it's a very
say,
cliche thing. It's like, oh, they have young talent coming down the pipes. Well, but when is that going to come to fruition, though?
I know, right? The Oilers are the best example for that.
Well, I mean,
young kids who have just grown up now in a culture of losing and really don't know any different.
Again, it's just a random question, though, for the two of you. Like, do you see them trading Nugent Hopkins now that they have Draisaitl, or do they keep Nugent Hopkins and deal with Draisaitl, just demote him again?
No, I don't think you can now. Draisaitl's a pretty good number 2 center.
Yeah.
Edmonton's problem is they're all forwards, no defense. So I've said it for the last 3 years. You have to trade one of those forwards for a defenseman. And your best trade partner was Nashville, and now they're not because Columbus beat you to it with Johansson for Seth Jones.
Yeah.
Because Nashville had 3 or 4 good young defensemen that they
obviously could have partnered with the likes of Shea Weber and stuff like that too. Yeah, like so because Seth Jones was a good player, but again, just a drop in the bucket, really.
So I mean, yeah, I think you have to look at trading Nugent Hopkins because really you're going to have McDavid, Draisaitl as your 1-2. So you're paying Nugent Hopkins $6 or $7 million a year to be your number 3.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's still on the IR, so...
Right, he's hurt, right? That would be a draft or off-season trade, I think.
Yeah, if you're going to move him, it would be on the floor.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be now.
Yakupov is an interesting name.
Oh, you know what? I almost completely forgot about him.
He's always forgotten about. Always.
But he was like...
Well, when you have 4 first overall picks, you're bound to forget one of them, right?
I know, but I remember him being... Was that not the Galchenyuk trade? Or the
Galchenyuk draft, yeah. And then Montreal scooped him 3rd overall.
But
should have taken Ryan Murray. That's what I said. He needed the defenseman.
Who, wait, Montreal or Edmonton?
No, Edmonton.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I thought it was between Yakupov or Galchenyuk, and Galchenyuk missed that whole year due to injury. So, of course, Edmonton being Edmonton, they were going to pick the forward.
Yeah. That's what Edmonton does, apparently.
So, I mean, we'll see. They have, that whole young talent thing. I don't know.
Well,
Toronto's been hearing that for decades, man. Decades.
No, they haven't. There's been nothing in the pipes for the Leafs. They either trade the prospects or trade the picks for old guys.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, they've had stuff in the pipe, but they just sent it off after.
But I mean, guys with like Roman Polak, I mean, and Stefan Robida, like, can you not just get like no? I'm sorry.
There's always this joke where it's like, oh great, now Tavares, Stamkos, Subban, Weber, all these guys want to come to Toronto, and all we have to give up is Nazem Kadri.
Yeah, no, actually, we didn't even talk about him though, and okay. Just I guess it's like the last. On the fly thinking right here, boys. Last minute of play. Oh, brilliant. Okay.
I like it.
So
last minute of play.
So here's what I'm thinking. So last topic, Nazem Kadri, should he have gotten disciplined for his throat slashing gesture to Mark Giordano? Go.
GG. Absolutely.
GG.
There's no place for that. That's totally unsportsmanlike.
I think it's because the camera was put on him that's why. Like, because he could have easily just done that, and no one would have noticed, and then it would have been dismissed. But because it's on TV, all the concerned parents, especially in Oakville, my poor child saw something so offensive,
and now he's gonna do it to other players.
Get over yourself, you dumb.
Are you
Don't bleed that out. I'm keeping that in.
Was this some woman that you know, or
Every Oakville mother that's not mine or yours.
okay? Yeah, I think it's more of a wrong place, wrong time kind of deal. I think maybe the NHL. I mean, people
But look
say
at Andrew,
things.
But look at Andrew Ferentz that happened a couple years ago
With the
Montreal thing, the middle finger.
Yeah, well, that's because it was Boston, and the NHL loves Boston. So, yeah, but that Apple's. I don't want to talk about that because then I get upset. But yeah, I think you know what. It was a wrong place, wrong time. $5,000. I think he should have been fined. There's no, if you're trying to put the sport in a good light, people are going to talk about that. That's going to in the NHL's eyes is going to hurt the NHL. So why not, right?
Yeah, but no, I think it's he did get fined. You were saying, Matt, he did get fined.
Yep, $5,000 fine.
Ooh, yeah.
That's the maximum the NHL can give for that.
But, it's definitely, I think it's to be made an example of more than anything else. Yeah. And, does that deserve a spot in the sport? I mean,
You should.
There's, to talk about being appropriate, I don't think guys beating the shit out of each other is appropriate. If we're talking about good, wholesome family entertainment, having a guy's teeth knocked in.
Or like hearing what they say on 24/7 when they're all mic'd.
Well, you even look at the All-Star game, like the guy, I think it was, who was it?
Was it Sagan?
It was Sagan. Yeah, he swore on TV.
And he's like, sorry for swearing, Canada.
I don't know, just like, well, there you go. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think poor Nazem Kadri, poor guy, poor Leafs, poor us for talking about it. But no, you know what? It's poor us. But no, you know what? I would say this has been a very successful first episode, boys. This has been fun. This has been a good time. I liked it. We talked about a lot random stuff, mind you.
But at least it was going somewhere.
I feel that's really
I
important.
mean, yeah,
to
we
have
were
direction.
all over the map.
Sandpaper and truculence is what we have in this core group of guys. Oh, Butch is just look at not even a reaction out of that.
No, this has been a blast.
But I thought like the nice
Sandpaper and truculence. You do know what he was referring to, right?
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
Burke.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
there you go.
I wasn't sure because again, we didn't see a reaction out of you.
It's just the face of of just pure unamazement and just general not enjoying our jokes.
I've heard them all for Leafs jokes. So you can't surprise me.
Damn. So much for being original.
Wait, you forgot about good foot speed.
Good foot speed. That
Good foot speed.
Yeah, and look where that got him now. God damn.
Oh.
No, that was actually, so thank you for listening to the first inaugural episode of Hockey Hoser Hour, which we will
Hockey Hour.
We will eventually get the name right. Is it, maybe by episode 2 we won't slur it or mess it up again, but it is us, so anything's possible. So thank you again for listening. Please, I don't know if you can subscribe to this or
You know what? Maybe we should do change the mock channel and convert it to Hoser Hockey Hour.
Let's not talk about this.
Okay.
On my
I don't know that I want to be affiliated with Mock Channel.
Oh no, not even we do.
Wait. But you were on it.
Once as a guest star, that doesn't count.
Oh, I know that counts, buddy. You're in the fold now. You drank the Kool-Aid. It's all done from there, my friend.
We have you now.
Oh man. Well, anyway, if you are listening to this, go check out the Harry Potter fanfic. Show that to your mom and dad.
Hey, that got us over 200 views. Okay.
Oh gosh, man, 200.
So for
views.
the dozens of fans of Mock, we thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mom.
But
But no, thank you for listening to Hoser Hockey Hour. This is Kevin and Matthew. That's your cue.
And Matthew.
Oh my gosh. And I'm Michael. So stay tuned. There's more to come. And let's get. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I'm trying to think of a good hockey analogy. I can't think of one.
Let's keep this going.
Get pucks in deep. Give 110%.
We just gotta execute the plan.
Just gotta execute, and
that's what we're clearly
switch
doing
it, and just play hard and fight through the pain.
Yeah, but no, this has been good. Thanks for listening, people, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.
This is the end of Hoser Hockey Hour. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned.